Hey all, this is Robin Schaffer from Schaffer AR, and I am here with my monthly blog, doing it a little bit different this month in two ways. I'm doing a video. I don't usually do a video for this. And I have a very special guest, my friend Chris Germann, who is an expert on this concept of persuasion. And I'm going to let Chris introduce himself, and then we're going to talk about the topic. So go ahead, Chris.
Wonderful. Thanks, Robin. Thanks so much for asking me to be on your
My
monthly
pleasure.
blog. I really appreciate it. So this topic is very exciting to me, and I've always been intrigued by the topic of influencing and persuasion. And I started thinking about this when I was an analyst back in the 90s with Gartner. I was working on three different Magic Quadrants. I had 30 or 40 vendors I was following, and everyone would approach me differently. And I would kind of think, why did I react that way? Or
Ah,
what would have been better for them to help me with in my work as an analyst? So then I just started thinking casually about this. I picked up a book back in the 2000s from Vital Smarts. It was a consultancy, and it was called Influencer. And so I read that, and then here we are 15 years after that, and I just started studying in earnest the writings of Robert Cialdini, who is kind of seen to be the godfather
the
of
guy.
influence. And he has a framework of 7 universal principles of persuasion that work interpersonal relationships and business. And I have taken the effort to apply them to analyst relations because I really see that skill that we have not unlocked yet as
Oh
analyst
yeah.
relations professionals, and how to authentically influence. So this isn't to deceive. And that's another reason why I'm really attracted to Robert Cialdini's work, is that he really focuses on ethical persuasion. So the persuasion where it's good for all parties and honest and straightforward. And so anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's really nice to
Well,
be
it's
here.
so great with your background as an analyst because you have both sides of it because you've done AR and have been an analyst. So you really know both sides of that relationship building, and that analyst perspective is so valuable because you know what you faced and what worked with you. And so you're not
Yeah.
talking theoretically, you're really basing it on the real experience. So that's why it's so valuable to listen to it from you. So tell me about Robert's book, The Psychology of Persuasion. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Yeah. So he started working on this 40 years ago. It was back in the 80s that he was a professor of behavioral science at Arizona State University. And he started putting himself in these situations in public, in an elevator, in a store, at a used car lot, to try to find out how people try to sell or influence or get messages across. And so he started building these experiments with a research team and his graduate students at Arizona State. And so he wrote the book. It's sold like 2 million copies. It's all over the world. And he's
And the
updated
book
it
is so
several.
interesting because it's packed with all these experiences, all these experiments. And there's so many things that kind of seem intuitive and interesting, but when you see it in an experiment, it like kicks on a whole new light. And he explains like all those experiments. It's so interesting.
Well, great point. And that's why I think I was drawn to his work and applying it to AR now, is because it's a science. And anything that's a science has data that proves a certain behavior given a certain input. And once you have data and you know that it's predictable, it's really scientifically based, then you can practice it. Then you can actually write out a formula for a given situation, such as in sales or marketing or analyst relations, and practice it and get better at it. And so that's why I think we're missing in analyst relations. Yes, a lot of people will think that these principles are, oh, I know that, and that's easy to understand, but they don't have the framework and don't have the science behind it that will give them the opportunity to practice and really make it a tool in their toolbox when they're
Yeah, it takes it
influencing
from just
analysts.
the gut responses, which I think a lot of us that are drawn to analyst relations kind of have this bent towards us, this kind of relationship building quality to our personalities. But it
Yes.
takes it from a gut feeling, and then it enables you to look at why things are working and not working and look at it scientifically, like you said. It's so powerful. So tell us about the principles. There's 7, if I understand, principles that he identified.
Right. So there's 7 principles. He started with 6 And he,
Okay.
published this book 3 or 4 times over 30 years. And then just in the last few years, he's added a seventh, which was unity, because he saw that happening more, I think, in culture in a broad sense.
Right.
But essentially there's seven. Reciprocity is one. And that states that people who do a favor generally get a favor done in return. And that's across all cultures, across all types of social strata. And if somebody does something nice to you, then you kind of feel obligated to do something nice to them. Second is commitment and consistency, meaning if I say one thing or do one thing, I'm far more likely to consistently do that same thing over time. So
Oh,
if I make a commitment, for example, to buy at a certain discount, then when that same discount or that same program comes along, I'm going to feel like I did it
a
once, it was
commitment.
good,
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again. So commitment and consistency. Social proof, I think, is very self-apparent in analyst relations. I mean, we all have a degree in social proof by including G2 and Trust Radius and PeerSpot and all the other peer review in the B2B setting in our analyst relations. Authority is one. That, of course, is the principle that states people tend to obey or give deference or learn from those that have a certain expertise or have a certain licensure and even a uniform. If we're talking about a medical issue and a person with a white coat walks in the room, we're going to
Listen,
ask that person an opinion, right? Because they, theoretically, they have the expertise, they have the white coat. And you'll see this happen in a lot of commercials, by the way. Somebody has a stethoscope around their neck answering a question. They're not a doctor. So
they're an
that's kind of
actor.
an actor. They're inauthentically or trying to persuade. But that's the idea, is that you have authority. And I have an example of how we've used that in analyst relations in the past. Liking, this is very powerful, where clearly you want to do business and be around people that you like or that like you.
Totally.
Yeah, and the reason I know that's validated for analyst relations is because I was at the Spotlight AR conference last
Hmm.
year, and they do this research survey by talking to analysts, and there's over 100 analysts that are quoted or interviewed as part of this research. And the bottom line takeaway from the whole research survey was they played the theme story to Toy Story. You got a friend in me. In other words, analysts want to have friends. They want to be liked. They want to have people. They want to like the people they work with. And so the whole takeaway by the Spotlight AR research team, I thought was fabulous, was, develop a spirit of liking or a spirit of
Wow.
friendship
And
with
it's
the analysts that
interesting
you
you
work
say
with.
they want to be liked because and that's from your perspective too, as an analyst, because I always think, well, I have to get them to like me, but they want to be liked. They want to be, acknowledged for who they are.
Absolutely. And they had a great research report, or they've really done a great job building this framework over 3 years or whatever. So, I mean, there's flattery, but there's also genuine common interests. If you came from the same type of vendor, if you're in the market and you came from Salesforce or you came from SAP or something, you have some similar route in
Hmm.
the industry, or you live in the same place of the country, or you have similar, you're a beach person or you're a mountain
Connections.
person or whatever. All those things contribute to the liking aspect and doing business with people you like.
Interesting.
The next one is scarcity. And the scarcity principle holds that people are motivated to buy something so they don't lose it more than getting it beforehand. In other words, if something is only 2 or 3 items left on a shelf and they see that it's at a good price, they're far more likely to buy it than if there's 100 of them on the shelf.
Oh, that's the airline tickets. There's only three left or something. That gets you to move.
That's what Amazon does, and that's what the airline tickets do. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. So that's the principle of scarcity. And then unity. I really like this one, unity. It's combined a lot with liking. It's collaborative. This, again, goes along with being of the same tribe, being of the same thought process, and collaborating with an analyst. And very often we think about presenting and convincing and persuading an analyst. And sometimes we don't think about actually getting on their team and doing research with them on an
Mm.
informal basis. So I'm collaborating and building, and I have a story about that too. But yeah, so that's those are just a quick overview of the 7 principles.
So that's great. That's a great overview. And again, a lot of those things, strike you as intuitive in the beginning, and it's really interesting to dig into them because there's many layers that get uncovered as you get to really understand them and look through his eyes and his experiments. So we talked a little bit, we talked in general about how it applies to analyst relations. I think analyst relations, I would say that the core of doing good analyst relations is building these relations because,
Yes.
and it doesn't mean like I remember I encountered an AR person who said, I had 5 analysts at my wedding, was bragging about that. And I'm like, I don't want 5 analysts at my wedding. Whatever it means to me, And I think there are people that kind of over rotate on this sort of personal connection, but it's not about that. With
Yeah.
with AR, it's about building that genuine relationship that mutually benefits each other, that's business oriented, and there's many
Yeah.
ways to do that. So anything else you can say about how, in general, the principles of persuasion apply to analyst relations?
Absolutely. So I'm going to highlight three and the things, and we could go all day talking about all seven, but the three that I'm going to highlight are especially grouped, and this is kind of a second level discussion in the Cialdini book about building a relationship of trust
Yeah.
first. And those three that I've seen in many situations in analyst relations are reciprocity, liking, and unity. And let me
Okay.
start from the bottom, unity.
All right.
So one time we had an opportunity to brief an analyst, and I've always been partial to on-site analyst briefings, where
Okay.
you take your CEO or a briefing team in to see the analyst, and you build that rapport all day because you're paying for just their audience, just them, or one or two analysts maybe for the whole day. And that to me helps them see your personality, helps them see your sincerity. And face-to-face meetings are always better in building unity. I mean, just as a matter of course. And one time, Gartner gave us an option of doing a half-day briefing virtual with our core analysts. And this was when I was at a e-commerce vendor.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a team of 5 analysts at Gartner. The principal one that managed the Magic Quadrant, we briefed him the year before on site. This time it was just virtual for half a day. And we had a new product manager,
Mm-hmm.
a new VP of product. And I thought, I've got to get her in front of the analyst because she is so smart. She comes from e-commerce world. And that, by the way, is mixing the authority principle because somebody as smart as her, I wanted her to have an influence on the analyst and give her background.
Exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, I focused on what I did is I got clearance in the budget to fly the whole briefing team to a hotel 5 minutes away from the analyst's house. And I called the analyst and I said, hey, will you meet us at this hotel instead of being online? I mean, it's the same time frame for you. He says, sure,
It
I'll
was
do
last
it.
minute, like a
No,
last minute thing.
it wasn't last minute. I mean, we
Oh,
planned
okay.
it.
Okay.
We planned it, but he was he felt that was perfectly in line. But what that did is that built the unity not only with the briefing team, but with a key person on our product team that I knew was going to have a big influence on him and how he got the research, how he read the RFIs for the Magic Quadrant, and such. And so we not only were able to fly in and have him ride his bike over to the hotel for the
Nice.
briefing, but then he said, sure, I'll stay for lunch. So we had a whole lunch with him sitting around. So we broke bread with him as well. And that did a lot to build rapport, build relationship of trust with
So much.
everybody. So I think there's just formal ways intentionally that we can build unity with analysts. Let's see. Another one is,
I've heard
yeah,
unity, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought of it as associated maybe with collaboration and collaborative research. Is there a connection there? Because I know when you sit down with somebody and you work together on something, it creates a sense of unity. Is that accurate?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And so the story I have to go along with that is,
Yeah.
instead of just doing a marketing white paper, we thought we really ought to do some hard research with our clients about this one aspect of
Yeah.
commerce that was
Yeah.
so critical to the market and Gartner had authored called composability. So we were setting up a survey to actually ask all of our customers and our partners' customers, so outside of our own immediate ecosystem, to find out exactly the maturity in adopting composability in their organizations. And I thought, let's go to the analysts and ask if they would collaborate on that
Oh,
for us,
nice.
because they might use that research in their research, or at least in talking to their clients. And they said, well, we probably won't publish it in and of itself, which is normal, but let's review your questions. And sure, I mean, if there are salient data points, we'd be happy to use that in a presentation or something like that. So
That's
we spent
cool.
time, several different working sessions with the analysts, going through and setting up the questions. So we really did build a sense of collaboration and build a
Yeah.
unity that was very effective in building that relationship of trust.
Oh, that's great. That's a great story.
Yeah. So the unity is really, really heavy hitter. Liking. So again, this is, you know, salespeople know this intuitively. Everybody knows this intuitively. That's all the small talk that goes on at the beginning of a meeting, right? To get somebody to like you. Oh, you like the Cardinals? I like the Cardinals. I've been to their baseball game, you know, last year. Or you're from the East Coast, or I'm from the East Coast. So there's a lot of things that build shared experience, or share things that are that build, again, that relationship of trust. Okay, so the principle of liking. And this is very apparent in today's world, even electronically, even though he's been doing this research for 40 years, because we all want likes, right? At our LinkedIn posts, we want likes on our Facebook or Instagram posts. And likes has been proven to light up the brain almost like chocolate and winning money. The same
Wow.
strength if you get
Wow.
likes on social media. So that's one scientific aspect. And then another part, a specific experiment was done on complimenting people and building a liking from complimenting and telling, you know, sincerely looking at their work, and having them understand that you're sincerely invested in them as a person. And that also builds liking. As a matter of fact, I think it was KPMG, the consulting company, they measured every individual relationship between a salesperson and the client. And then they ranked the likability between in that relationship based on a scale, social behavior or scientific scale. And then they found out that the people that had the greatest liking in that relationship did 75% more business.
Wow. That makes so much sense, but it's so cool
Yes.
to see it proved out. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's one
And by
thing
the
that
way,
I,
I think you're extremely handsome, Chris. I just want to mention that to you.
okay, you can take that out. But so one thing that that I picked up on AR and using liking was using the same language.
Mm.
So in our the company I was with before, the e-commerce vendor, we were calling the modules in our software modules, and that we had great modularity, 900 modules that you could change in and out to make it more dynamic of a software platform. And Gartner, as soon as I hired on, I said to the CEO, hey, Gartner uses this language composability for the same idea. We should change our language to be composability and not talk about modules. So we changed all our language and all our marketing and all of the presentations we did. And I think that in large measure helped those analysts understand us and create this likability between our offering and what they were saying in the market, is because we
Absolutely. You
started
know,
using the same language.
I'm sorry. Say that again,
No, that's
Chris.
it. Yeah.
Because what I found is even if you don't, it sounds like that company really went the extra mile and changed all their marketing because they really believed in that perspective. But I have found even if you just have the respect to translate for the analysts, for example, you
Yeah.
know that they talk about composability. We talk about this as modules, and this is, of course, what you refer to as composability. It's the same thing. The fact that you acknowledge and you know the way they refer to it, it doesn't really always mean that you're changing everything. Just the way you talk to them and the way you express your value proposition to them lands much stronger when you talk about it in the terms that they use.
I love that, because you're recognizing, person wants to
Yes,
be acknowledged and recognized for
yes,
their work, and you're
yes.
acknowledging their work. So yeah, I love that. So then the last one is reciprocity. And this, of course, holds that people tend to do nice things for when nice things are done to them. And I think this can be very intentional with analysts. Again, this is scientifically based, and there's been studies, and we can read about those in the Cialdini book. But from an analyst standpoint, if I and I talk about data when I want to have this reciprocity relationship with an analyst. I know as an analyst, you can't have 100% accurate data about what's happening in the market with all the vendors that you cover. You don't know how all the customers are reacting. You don't know all the customer case studies. It's impossible.
Right.
So if I can get a vendor to help me objectively with data from their customers or data that they see from a conference or something, then I'm likely to do something good for them. I'm likely to give them a good opinion, or I'm likely to mention them to somebody that I talked to on the phone that day. If I really see that they're trying to help me be better,
Right.
I'm going to give something back to them. So it's really, you kind of take it for granted. You don't know when the other favor is going to come back. Just like when you send somebody a birthday card, you don't know that they're going to send you a birthday card the next birthday, but they may send you a thank you card for the president or something. And so there'll be something that comes back. And so it's kind
Yes.
of a trust-based outreach to have that feeling of reciprocity.
It seems like so much underneath this is, and we talk about this a lot in AR, is knowing the person as an individual and not treating analysts as a block. But really, the more you know them, the more you can apply these principles to them in a really effective way that's going to be impactful.
Right. And the last thing I'll say, just having gone over those three principles, unity, liking, and reciprocity, is that it's a long-term picture. You and I tell all our new clients that we're not talking about one briefing that's going to change the mind of an analyst. Because if that happens, they lose credibility. They're not going to change their mind just
Every
because you
time,
tell
yeah.
them your story. So, but over a long period of time, if I build this relationship, they can change their views and change their mind based on data and based on liking and based on unity with your
It's a
effort and your view of the
consistency.
market.
Consistency is a huge one with that long term, right? They want to
Absolutely.
hear the same
Absolutely.
story from you. I mean, obviously the story evolves, but they want to hear the
Yeah,
consistent principles below it. That's
that's
huge.
correct. That's right.
This is great, Chris. This is really, really interesting. I'm going to go read through that book again because I don't think you can read through it enough, to really get all the power behind it. So, besides reading the book, is there anywhere else that the AR professionals can go to learn more?
Sure. So I have, with my work with Cialdini, I have two things that I can offer. One is a free Persuasion Power course. It's listing all 7 principles, and there's 2 or 3 minute blurb for each one of the principles.
Oh, great.
It's a quick course. I'm happy to send that out free to people that either send you an email. Why don't they, if they send you an email after the blog, I'm happy to provide that to them, and
Great.
you could pass on their contact information to me. The second one is an actual 10-hour course that I can offer. It's an actual practitioner certification. It's a 10-hour Cialdini course, practitioner certification that's just under $1,500.
Oh,
And then
that's great.
there's discounts involved for the whole team. So if an analyst relations team at a large vendor wants to get an actual certificate and learn more of the scientific aspects of influence,
And
then
really get it in their
we can
gut.
have
I
that.
mean, that's a
Yeah.
great offer. It's a great way to learn. Oh, that's wonderful, Chris.
And then I'm
Wonderful.
happy to come on site and do a workshop too.
Great.
So there's either a 2 or 4 hour workshop or just a keynote presentation at maybe an analyst offsite or a AR offsite or something like that. And I'd love the discussion. I'd love to hear people's experiences too, as we explain the scientific evidence behind these principles, how it applies to AR. I think we can all be better off as we discuss that too.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I think this is going to help a lot of people.
Thanks, Robin. Enjoy the time.
All right. Take care.